information session tomorrow. I'm the architect and the planner for the proposal, so my office, Dixon Rothschild, has coordinated the preparation of the application. The application is before Liverpool Council, so Liverpool Council are assessing the application, and you obviously have the ability to talk to the council. They will be the consent authority for the application.
Thank you.
And we have had meetings with them of a pre-DA nature, and we have also met with their design review panel. But they have not determined the application. It's purely a matter before council at the moment. So the intent of today's session is to make sure that you have the information in front of you that's on the drawings. I have a binder at the back that actually has some of the information of a technical nature which goes to the acoustics of the building. The siting of the building is shown on the drawings, but there is also a traffic report that accompanies the application. Dan Brindle, my colleague on the right, is the social impact planner who has prepared a study related to that. Maybe Dan, you say a few words on that. And then I can take you through the information on the drawings. We have a PowerPoint and we have some of the information on the walls, and make sure you're informed as to what the content of the application is.
In terms of the social impact assessment, one of the matters that Council must consider when determining a development application is the social impact of a development in the local area. They're also obliged to take into account traffic impacts, noise impacts, general amenity impacts. So my role was to look at the social impacts of a licensed premises in this location, and that was produced in a report which you've probably seen if you've been to council and had reviewed the development application in the preparation of your submissions. So we looked at the general issues associated with alcohol, alcohol-related harm, alcohol-related crime, and the proximity of the development to sensitive residential areas and the school, etc., to enable council to have all of that information before it in making its decision. Of course, council will undertake its own independent assessment of the application with input from the applicant and, of course, from yourselves, the community, who I can tell by your badges, no doubt lodged submissions to the council in response to the notification there. So if you've got any questions at all about the application, we're just keen to ensure that you have a good understanding of what's proposed so that you can formulate your comments to the council.
And what sort of harms did you find?
There's always harm associated with alcohol.
And you're okay with that in the community?
It's impossible to remove it totally, and yes, I am comfortable with it. It's all about harm minimisation. The whole legislation process in New South Wales is not about prohibiting alcohol. There's no prohibition on its sale or distribution. The legislation is set up to minimise harm, and that is why establishments like this are firm members of the local liquor accord. They will work closely with the licensing police and the licensing courts to ensure that the establishments are run in a manner where any harm is minimised. And that's the same with any use, be it a McDonald's.
McDonald's doesn't sell alcohol 24 hours a day.
No, the normal.
No.
Oh, so it sells hamburgers 24 hours a day.
Yeah, they're not known to kill people.
Well, nor does alcohol. Unless you know what they're saying.
I've got a question for you. My children go to the primary school, so it's a possibility, if it's 24 hours, that I can drop my kids at school, walk 200 metres to the pub, play the pokies, gamble, all my money for the food for the children, the rent, and then go and get drunk at the pub, and at 3 o'clock comes, walk back to the school, pick my children up and drive them home as a drunk driver. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could do that.
I could do
I'm
that.
sure you won't,
But that's a possibility. So
it is a possibility.
So how do you minimise that?
Some do, some may well do it now.
Yes.
How many poker machines are you planning on putting in? That wasn't described on the DA. And given the social impact harms that pokies and alcohol when mixed together have, how many poker machines do you plan on putting in?
Yeah, it might be easier if I answer that. We will only put in as many as we are authorised to put in. It's as simple as that.
Which is how many?
At the moment, there's authorisation for 30.
Good
Maybe
God.
too many. Exactly.
What I suggest, you may have more questions, but I have a series of images on the wall, and while we're all looking, I'd like to at least, as an architect and a planner, take you through the application. So there were questions about adjacent houses and things like that. We're here to make sure you have the facts. As council considers the application, they may wish to have modification made to the application, and that's the correct and right and full process, that there's a dialogue between the community interest groups as to how the application may be presented. So it's not unusual for applications to be modified in response to community concerns, but the proper thing that we'd like to do with this session is make sure you have the facts, and that way your points and comments to council can be appropriately directed and, in a sense, very useful to council and purposeful in considering by council.
Before you start that, can I just ask one more question?
Please.
How can you consider this pub to be family friendly when it's going to cause people to lose their marriages through gambling, lose their homes, lose their peace and quietness? How can you call it family friendly when that's going on?
That looks like a very big complex to me.
Needs a-
Too big.
It's massive.
Well,
for Casula.
let me take you through the drawings, because your question is very big and broad, and I think it's important. I think, as an architect, I can only take you to the drawings and show you what the building will be.
And we
That's
don't want the building.
What's that?
We don't want the building.
Well, can I just take you through the facts?
I think you should address the social impacts of having the pub there first before you even put the building there. I think that's what the lady was asking.
Well, which ones, where would you like to start? What issues?
Start off with the family friendly side of it. How can it be family friendly when you put us in this position?
People have a right to go to licensed premises with their family and have a meal and
And
have
they
a
can
drink.
do it on the board of existing facilities.
Yes, they can.
Why does it have to be so close to the primary school?
Well,
Why would it
Why?
be between two pubs? Already existing, one down one end, one at the crossroads.
Yes, and-
Why do we need three in the local area
and
like that?
this isn't adding a new pub to the area, it's a transfer one.
Yeah, well, regardless, why can't it stay in Liverpool?
It's not near residences in Liverpool. And how can you ensure that it's not going to become just like the MacArthur Tavern and be on the most violent list of venues in Australia or in New South Wales? How can you ensure that's not going to happen to us?
Can I just answer that question? And I think if we're going to get anything out of today, if you ask Dan a question, everyone's got to give him the opportunity to answer. Okay, I think that's fair. I think with regards to your concerns, it's not going to be like the MacArthur Tavern. This hotel is going to have no live music, and we've made what we feel is a concession in that sense. And when you don't have live music, there are studies that show that there is less incidence of antisocial behaviour. This is going to be a family hotel with food and with beverage and the opportunity to have a bet. And it's important that everyone understands that in its own existence at the moment, the motel is licensed and has a food operation. So there's really not a significant amount of change.
If you want to,
That's a fact.
I think if you want to make it a family hotel, why don't you just take away the gambling machines? That would make it really friendly.
And the 24 hours, because we won't be there 2 o'clock in the
Your
morning.
idea is family friendly.
Just one.
Okay.
Can we dispel the 24-hour myth? Because it's not going to operate 24 hours. We will condition it up with council that we will be shut at least 6 hours from Monday to Saturday and 10 hours on Sunday. That's the fact. So the myth about 24 hours is not worth continuing to talk about because it's just not going to happen.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You say you have a 24-hour licence.
Council will
You're
condition
saying
it in
that
such a
you're
way.
removing it from Liverpool across to Casula. While it will take away 30% of the crime in Liverpool, it will make ours 1,000% more because we don't have it here right now. And I guarantee you don't live right behind the pub. You don't live the 5 metres away from the pub that you want to put near a house.
I suppose the only response to that is, this is an example of a hotel we run. We run it very ethically and we run it with community conscious in mind. We exist very close to neighbours, and I'm sure that if you did a lap around here, most people would not be concerned about having a pub next door to them. It's an indication of how we run our venues. We're not into that style of loud music, late nights. This is a quiet family establishment. That's the way it's going to be run.
Well, the Cabin's not quite.
That's a different hotel. That's a different hotel in a different area.
It is, but you own it as well.
But this is not the young ones are telling us. The young ones have known about this hotel to have their dancing and their singing closer to home, so they haven't got to go in as far as the cross. It's been known. Why? How have the kids known about it, and yet nobody else knew about it?
I'm not quite understanding your question.
Well, we were discussing it with one of the mums, and the daughter informed us that they already knew this pub was going to be built, and that they can come there and have their entertainment there without having to go right into town and doing it. So how did the young ones find out about this, and yet nobody else knew about it?
In terms of that we were proposing
That you were putting the hotel there.
I don't know the answer to that question. I suppose it was advertised along the protocol and procedures that you're legally required to go through. I don't know how that would have happened.
Well, it's been known. And besides, have you stopped to consider about all the aged pensioners that we have around in that area?
We have aged pensioners who support this hotel. They regard it as a nice venue to have a meal and a quiet drink at. So maybe there's, there might be a flip side to the aged pensioners.
When was this hotel built?
This hotel was built, I think, in about the 60s or 60s, late 60s. Do you want it? It might be an opportunity to just, even if you just give us a small opportunity to take you through the design.
We'll take you through the PowerPoint, and I'll explain each of the images, at least give you the facts, and if you've got more questions, once we've done that, then we can continue the discussion. Okay?
Can I just ask you, are you going to show us the back part of the...
Yeah, hopefully that'll be part of it.
There's no elevation of the back.
Yeah, we have all the drawings on the application, and the back elevation is actually that one there. And I can take you to that and explain it to you in detail.
Okay.
Now, this is the obviously the front of the building. On the right-hand side of that image is an outdoor dining area. It's got a screen and a rear wall, and part of that rear wall has been worked through with our acoustic consultants to look at the noise generation from dining and the noise of people within the facility in relation to the adjoining residents. In the acoustic report, he has gone into a lot of detail about the noise configuration. I'm not an acoustic engineer, but I want you to make sure you understand it has been properly considered with respect to the Australian standards and legislation. So we are acutely aware of it. Council have asked us to set the building back a little bit further at the rear, and the drawings that we have on the wall here have incorporated a landscape buffer, which is across the back and extends right through the rear of the site. And that is a recent change that has come out of a meeting with the design review panel of Liverpool Council. Now, these latest drawings have been modified with respect to that, and so Council will be considering these adjustments, and it will be appropriate for you to at least be informed that we are making adjustments in relation to community concerns, and they're using their own experts in making their determination.
So the building's going back further than the original plan.
There has been a small adjustment of the dimensions there. That's right. We did have vehicles set through, and if you, and I appreciate, sir, you live close to the site, and we are very cognizant of your house position. So I think that's a specific area that we have to do. It's about 6 metres. Remember, I just put my glasses on.
So there won't be any vehicles?
5 metres. No, there's no vehicle access through there.
5 metres before.
It was 5 metres before, but it had vehicles going down there. So we now have it as a fully landscaped area with no access, so it's a landscape buffer.
Just
A dead-end street.
Garden. It'd be planted like a hedge through there in order to screen the building.
on that back.
May I ask how many car parking spots will be provided?
Yeah, the car parking is generally provided under the building. This is quite unusual And if I can take you through some of the drawings, I'll try and answer that question using the drawings. So I'm not overlooking a question, I'll just have to take you through this plan here shows the current arrangement of the Fontainebleau Hotel, and you can see the Fontainebleau Hotel has kind of a long butterfly wing shape. So the application is about reducing the amount of the southern part of the building and putting the building on the southern section.
That actually also shows all the houses around it, the inconvenience it's going to cause us.
Yes.
Here's my street.
And here is the site plan you've been taken to. So the site has an entrance off Hume Highway and an exit off Graham Avenue. We have had over the last 3 weeks.
What's the impact of the driveway off the Hume Highway? People flying down and then turning into the car.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dan, I'll just try and answer the gentleman's question. It's a good question. When we started this application process over the last 6 months, we actually met with what used to be called the RTA, now called the RMS in Parramatta. And when we had the first meeting, I think it was roughly September, October last year, the RMS actually directed us to have a deceleration lane to pull cars in, off on a slow transit into the site and make a left in, and they were satisfied with the exit to Graham Avenue. As you know, you've got the McDonald's there and the new set of lights, and they've been through a fairly long process with
Did you know
McDonald's.
that that's next to the disability units and the people there are really afraid?
Yes.
That's government housing.
I'm not particularly aware of that particular issue, but we went through this review. Now, in January, the RMS contacted us and we had a second meeting with them, and they decided that we should not have a deceleration lane, and they requested we just have a pure left turn entrance, and they were satisfied with the vehicle clearances to enter the site off the Hume Highway. So these, yeah, I just want to make sure I answer this gentleman's question first. So these drawings have now been modified based on the input of the traffic engineer with the RTA. So it's purely an entrance in at this point of the site. It's obviously the new facility is at this position, that existing Fontainebleau will be retained there. So there's a vehicle entrance at that location, approximately 60 or so metres from the south boundary. So that was a recent change that's come out of discussion. The RMS has directed their advice back to council. So it has come late in the process. We were quite accommodating to have a deceleration lane, but we have to be following state policy on that matter. So that has changed.
There's 2 sets of lights there.
Yes.
I just wonder what that traffic's going to be like.
Yeah.
You come home every night from Campbelltown, down that road.
Down which road? Hume
Down
Highway?
the Hume Highway. Just the lights here. Come down here. The lights here. If they're green, you go through. If you don't know what's going to happen, already with the traffic turning into the supermarkets here, you can go back on a carton. It's as easy as anything, because they get halfway across the footpath and their tails hanging out. That's every day. You come down here, this is already a deceleration. This can't move. It's already, traffic already crawls along here. In peak hours, they put another set of lights in down there. I go the other way, and this is already a parking lot.
Well, I
It's already a
appreciate your
parking
concern.
lot. Coming home at night,
It's
it's already almost a parking lot.
I really hear you, and I appreciate
And I
your
come
concern.
through sometimes 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and it's still the same problem. There's nothing much happening here except a Chinese restaurant,
Yeah.
and it's still the same problem, trying to get
Look,
off here.
I understand you entirely, and the entrances to that
It's
shopping
dangerous.
centre are,
It's
in
dangerous.
my opinion, far from
I
ideal.
don't care what time of the day it is dangerous.
This Hume Highway is a state road,
I know
and
it
the
is.
RMS
But
control it
already
and
the
manage
traffic
it.
on that corner is dangerous without adding to it on the other corner.
Now, the RMS have directed us, it's on now. The RMS have directed us to actually place the entrance in that location. They are, in a sense, the managers on behalf of the New South Wales Government for that road, and they've taken into account that road. They were heavily involved. Our traffic engineer was also involved with the McDonald's facility and knows that section of road very well. So they have taken that advice into account. So it's a traffic matter.
Getting into McDonald's is the same.
The RMS are acutely aware of it. So I
live there,
I believe well, they have a responsibility to maintain and manage these roads, and they, in the end of the day, they make the decision about where an entrance. And they have determined that an entrance can be accommodated there in a reasonable position. And they've determined that exiting of traffic can handle off Graham Avenue. So there's no concern about that.
Can we go back to one of the questions that were asked earlier, that sort of been brushed over? What's your parking?
I was trying to get to that. There is parking in front of the building, and take you to the drawings so we can. So most of the parking is below the building, and this is quite unusual. It's in order to not have a lot of parking in front of the building. There's about 20 or 30 cars in front of the building. I'll get the drawing up. I can show it to you. But the majority of car parking is below the building. People will be able to park down there. There'll be CCTV and security for that area, and that will enable us not to have the building surrounded by a vast area of car parking. Convenience car parking will be in the front of the building, and here's the main entrance of the building. But if I take you to this, one of the site plans.
So you said that the car parking underground, however, you have not actually said at any time how many car parks.
No, I was just taking you to this drawing. This drawing here shows approximately 20 cars parked in front of the building, and the drawing over here, I can pull the number, 62 spaces underneath the building.
62.
They're able to enter the car park on grade because the site slopes slightly and enter it into the basement area through that. There's no internal ramp, but it's pure slope of the land enables them to come down. So to answer the question fully and properly, I just haven't got the number in front of me exactly, but there are about 20 spaces shown on this drawing in front of the car parking. So you can see here, if I can just make sure, do you want to come up and you can see it? There's a vehicular entrance, and then the cars are laid out on two sides of the car parking. There are even bicycle spaces. 82 spaces all up. So 82, so 20 on grade in front of the building and 62.
He says that your carpenter on a Friday night has 2,000 revelers.
This isn't a good carpenter, I'm sorry, it's just because they don't want to put any lump units.
So if you don't have enough parking,
No, we do have enough parking.
how do you know? How many people
Well,
go?
we can only go on.
How popular will it get?
Plans for the overflow on Friday, Saturday night. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, usually big time hotels.
Well, at the moment, we think car parking is just in sight. The car parking report, traffic report prepared by TTP, traffic planners recommends that this is enough car parking to handle the peak events and the normal trading events. So we don't see a need for that.
What's operating capacity of the tavern? How many people can actually visit the tavern at any one time?
That I can't comment on. Peter,
I think it's around, the licensed capacity is around 500 people, something like that. So it's not going to be.
That's what 500 people come off.
No.
Well, I think you'll find the trends show that a lot of people these days do not drive to a hotel.
Yeah, but there's no public transport apart from buses there.
It's
Okay.
not near a railway
It's not near a railway station.
Some people make it a taxi.
Taxis don't, but the guards
So
in.
that means that still, if
So
200
you-
people turned up and they were looking for parking spots, they'd be
In our
parking in front of
street.
people's
Yeah.
houses.
We can only go on what we're obligated to provide, and we feel, and the advice we've been given in council's meetings, that that is adequate parking. Now, we're responding to what we're required to do. So at this stage, we feel that that's
Look,
adequate.
the traffic planners are experts in this area. They have come forward with traffic generation figures, and they look at hotel and other licensed venues across New South Wales. So the figures here are based on that research and data and brought forward in the reports.
Okay, I might not. Yeah.
It's a good question. It's something that we've been quite. It's extremely important when you're running a hotel. We've written a plan of management. A couple of things that I'll mention. There is a necessity and a condition that we have 30 CCT cameras so that there is that adequate sort of protection and security monitoring. We generally will have security on every evening. and of an evening, I think the plan of management indicates that from 12 o'clock onwards, there's an ability to escort people from the venue to their cars, and that will maintain people exiting in the appropriate fashion and also the security of people exiting. So we take those things very seriously. The business itself will not survive if it's dangerous and there are fights. So it's imperative that we kind of spend time and have the appropriate attention to make sure that people feel safe and feel friendly. So it's...
So what sort of numbers are you looking at per head?
Oh, look, I think on a Friday night, because it's not going to be, and this is a completely sincere comment, a big band entertainment establishment, it's truly going to be pitched at people to come and have a really nice meal, very similar to the way that this is regarded in the community of Liverpool. This is a pub where people come have a meal, they have a nice drink, and if they want to have a punt, they can have a punt. That is the service that we offer. It's not let's go raging all night till 3 in the morning. So on a Friday night, to answer your question, I'd probably guess that we'd have 3 to 4 security guards on. But it's all relative to the business. Given that it's a new pub, it's hard to estimate.
So, I understand where you're coming from.
Yep.
Right. New venue, you're going to get the overflow that's been kicked out of... You're not filming, please?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're going to have an overflow coming from Collingwood,
Yep.
etc. Liverpool, all the guys have been kicked out of there. Bar, power drinkers,
Generally, the way...
all the rest of it. You're not going to know until it's out the door.
Yeah.
Unless you go and employ guys from the other hotels.
Yep.
To run
Generally, there's the sort of the sense of if someone gets booted out from the Collingwood and we know the operator's there, we will get a phone call say they might be coming towards you. This is a good example here of where we have security on every
but you're
evening.
still going to have to walk from Collingwood up to your pub. It's still going to cause havoc to the general public.
Yeah.
And they might walk out in the middle of the Hume Highway and have an accident.
Yeah.
You just because they're intoxicated.
And what
Yep.
about violence that's going to happen in our neighbourhood as a result? You kick them out the door, you're only got on your DA that you will see them to the door. Once they get out to the footpath, that's our responsibility in our homes right behind
It's a very good question, and it would be a concern of mine if I lived in the immediate community. I suppose the only answer to that is, and I can't talk for the Collingwood or the Crossroads, is that the way that we run our establishments, we really don't serve it up to people and send them out the door drunk. We're very responsible with our service of alcohol, and again, I just refer back to this hotel. So we don't get a lot of those patrons exiting our venues, and that is truly the case.
But you can't guarantee that won't happen.
You know,
You
I
can't, can you?
Well, I cannot. And,
No,
and,
exactly.
yeah.
That's why we don't want the pub.
Yeah,
Because there's no guarantees.
Sure.
my question is, the school opens at 8 o'clock, so I walk my kids past your hotel to the school, and in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, I walk past your school, go from my school past your hotel,
Yeah.
let's say home, right? Will you be open during those times, and will all the children, encounter any person who's intoxicated and not happy?
I can't foresee the future.
Is your pubs open during that hours?
Well,
Between
it's
8 to
open
3?
while the kids would be at school, absolutely.
Okay.
But my question to you is, where do you live, and why? And sorry, and I don't mean to sort of be rude when I ask a question, but my understanding is if you live north of Casula Public School, why wouldn't you use the pedestrian lane? Because it's dangerous to go up and walk along the Hume Highway.
No.
The lane goes past one set of houses near the shops, so that's nothing to do with...
No, but hang on, it unlocks all of the streets that are to the north. It unlocks the streets to the north. So then you can use those streets to get to a house in the north. I just can't, in my own mind, get why I would come out of the school, turn right at Demerrick, turn left onto the Hume Highway, walk along a very busy road to go home if I lived in the north. It doesn't make sense to me. Oh, they cross the road, but they're cross...
They come from the other side of the road and they walk along, they walk along that side. They go to the shops with their parents first, and then they walk along that road there on their way home.
So they're not walking directly past, which is what...
Yes, they are.
Down, straight up and down.
But they're walking on the other side, you're saying?
No, your side of your hotel.
But where would they be going? Oh, if they're going to the shops on the way home, beg your pardon, sorry. Or alternative, they
Shops,
do...
McDonald's, to the bus stop, because the bus stop sits right near the McDonald's.
Yeah, behind the service station.
Hang out there all the time.
Yeah.
I live on the opposite side. Now, we've already had one death across the highway from a young guy at the back of the housing who, in the middle of the night, ran across the road and got killed.
At the end of the day, though, and again, just backing it up a second, this is a site that will be developed in any way. If it's not a hotel, there will be some... Hang on. Yeah, well, if I had the money, I would. But there will always, at the moment, it's run down. You guys would know, being residents, that it's a haven for prostitution, for drug use. It's not. Doesn't it attract a nice group of people?
The Housing Commission would like to know that because that's where the Housing Commission houses their people while they're waiting for
Just keep going.
Yeah.
There's no point in trying to tell us.
Oh well, we're just here to try and provide the facts, though.